President Barack Obama and Donald Trump took office only 8 years apart, yet Commander-in-Chief 44 and 45 represent diametrically opposite values, political agendas, and perhaps even constituents. While Obama's presidential victory was perceived as a watershed moment in the push for equal rights and representation of ethnic minorities in America, Trump's platform centered around racially divisive policies such as restricting immigration from non-white countries and supporting neo-Nazis. So how did the first African-American president and one of his most vocal opponents, the creator of the birther conspiracy theory, both get a hold of the presidential seat of the United States of America just 8 years apart? The answer lies in appealing to racially stratified target groups. Obama and Trump were also voted into power by strikingly different constituents. In 2012, Obama only secured 39% of the white vote, but still edged out Romney by dominating the minority vote: 93% of African Americans, 71% of Hispanics, and 73% of Asians. Trump, on the other hand, won 57% of the white vote, but a mere 8% of the African American vote, 28% of the Hispanic vote, and 27% of the Asian vote. A study published by the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences explains Trump's victory as a function of America's normalized white supremacy. Quote, "White Christian and male voters turned to Mr. Trump not because of a threat to their own economic well-being, but because of a threat to their group's dominance in our country overall." According to Professor Carol Anderson of Emory University, there has not been a significant shift in America's cultural and political climate in the last few years. Anderson, who is an expert on African American studies, instead points to the phenomenon of white backlash. She defines this as white America historically reacting to and undermining periods of African American advancement. As such, I decided to examine white backlash in the context of the Trump presidency. Could Trump's presidential victory be perceived as a form of white backlash to African American advancement during Obama's presidency? Here are just a few examples highlighting the differences in racial ideology that Trump and Obama support.
Democrats want to have open borders, and they want to invite caravan after caravan into our country, overwhelming your schools, your hospitals, and your communities.
They're trying to convince everybody that the most important thing in this whole election, the thing you've got to fear, is they're a bunch of impoverished refugees 1,000 miles away.
Barack Obama responded to the violence in Charlottesville, Virginia Saturday with a series of tweets referencing Nelson Mandela. Obama wrote, "No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love."
Trump's response to the Charlottesville violence, on the other hand, clearly supported white nationalism.
After the violence in Charlottesville.
But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay?
The president, combative and defiant, unleashing and unscripted.
I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either.
Just as America's been built by immigrants from every shore. And in my own life, in this country, and as president, I have learned that our identities do not have to be defined by putting someone else down, but can be enhanced by lifting somebody else up.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
Examining white backlash to racial progress is critical to effectively mitigate racial stratification in America. Trump's presidency is a clear example of white backlash to African American advancement, and it is critical to evaluate Trump's rhetoric to understand how this damage is created and to eventually build a more inclusive American society.